You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 2nd meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board Special Meeting. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
The special meeting today is May 2nd, about 10 after 4. Do we do a roll call?
Do a roll call, yeah.
Okay, so we'll start off with roll call. Chris Yagelski.
Present.
Okay. Don
Here.
Babcock. Jim Werner.
Present.
And Linda Simmons. First of all,
We have a quorum.
we do have a quorum for now. First of all, I want to thank you for coming in today. We had an executive session at 3:30 today, and we had a couple announcements, and that effective tomorrow. Chris?
We'll need to,
We're going to
we'll
leave
need to
that.
make a motion to
Okay.
approve.
We're going to make a motion to approve Commissioner Chris Yagelski to change his position and go into the interim business manager for the Michigan City Sanitary District. So could I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Don Babcock? You're gonna have,
I will do a second.
I have a.
And can I make a comment before you vote?
Mm-hmm.
So, just for the public's sake, I did meet with Mr. Yagelski, on yesterday to discuss this position with the sanitary district as interim, to help, administratively get us back on track, with our, with a lot of different things. But, this is the position that was approved at the last board meeting. My apologies that I couldn't be here, but, with everything that's going on, he has the inherent knowledge of what has been happening for the last several months, but also his background with the police department on policy changes and some of the administrative things that he's done previously, I think will help us over the next several months as we transition to a new organizational structure. So I asked him to take this role if the board approves it today, effective tomorrow. And I asked that he, if he's approved, that he resigns from the board after this meeting as well.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Abstain.
Thanks. Thank you. Right. Secondly,
And thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Chris. Second thing on the agenda from our executive session meeting is that Attorney Jim Meyer has been offered 30 days to continue his position on the sanitary district, and at the end of the 30 days, he will step down as the sanitary district.
I think you can,
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I think you have
Be a
to
motion.
cancel. his
You have to make a motion and a vote.
Motion.
Okay, we have to make a motion and a vote to
Correct.
cancel his contract.
Right.
So, could I get a motion?
Well, I do,
Go ahead.
so can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
So what the motion is, Jim still has inherent knowledge of a lot of things with the sanitary district. It is really about the board, but also still for any additional projects that the district has, that we still, what's the word?
So any
Can
special
utilize-
projects, like for example,
That we
Mhm.
utilize the hourly rate that was in his contract for any of those things, but that there will be a new board attorney.
Got it.
So relative to his contract, is there a retainer or
Yeah,
something in there
there is a-
within that, or
No.
it's just strictly hourly by project as they come up as?
Just by hourly period,
Oh, okay, thank
every
you.
month. I copy the board on all my contracts, invoices, say,
So we're basically retaining him for special projects and current issues that he's currently working on, correct?
As directed by
By-
whoever your new counsel is or the interim
The
business
business
manager.
manager.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
You
You
got
want
it?
to
So
amend?
moved, so moved.
Okay,
And seconded.
okay. All in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
None? Motion pass. Okay, so,
I'd like to thank Jim for his service
Absolutely.
to the sanitary district. And my suspicion is this isn't all that easy to accept, but I want to thank you for what you've done and your contributions, and look forward to having you continue to support the activities of the organization, so.
And I'll add that too, and I've known Jim a long time. I think that as the sanitary district moves forward, I just want to make sure that everybody understands from my perspective that I want employees to know that I want them to feel supported, but I also want the board to understand that as we grow in Michigan City, I want to be confident in what the sanitary district is doing as far as decisions that are being made, our growth strategy, what that looks like. And I think historically we've been in a holding pattern from an administrative city perspective, that this runs like its own little city. And I think we all should be partners as we move forward. And I was just sharing at the executive board meeting, the grant that Mr. Steve Stanford just helped support some additional information on. These are the things that are going to transform Michigan City. And I just want everybody to be on the same page. And I think a reset with the sanitary district is necessary. And I want the employees to also know that over the next several weeks, I'll be coming around to meet with all of them to get their feedback on the new policy that was approved at the last meeting. And if we need to tweak it, we will. But this is just the first step in moving us forward into a positive direction. So I appreciate Jim, I appreciate Mike. Mike is going back to the plant effective Monday, so I just want everybody to know that these were hard decisions that had to be made. So I appreciate everything that they've both done. And also Tim Smith as well, who I wasn't at the last meeting to say that he has been on the board for years. So I also want to thank him for his service to the sanitary district board as well.
yeah, absolutely. Are we going to go public? Okay, public comments from anyone?
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board and the mayor, I was hoping to seek approval for a couple of items before the board tonight.
Did we put anything on the agenda?
We're not,
There's no agenda.
No, we
There
did
was
not
no-
have an
just
agenda.
administratively, yes. That's all we can.
Yes.
You don't,
Is it something that,
technically, legally, you don't have to have an agenda, but if you do have one, then you have to post it 48 hours in advance.
Mm.
Wants to do a cleanup out at the Streeble with the police and fire.
Yeah, we probably,
Well,
Yeah, we gotta
how pertinent is it, or is there
Speed,
well,
yeah.
immediate?
one is immediate.
Okay.
Well, two.
One's the lab.
I
can
would give them
we do it
four.
as new business?
Yes,
You can do it as anything,
Okay.
because you didn't have an agenda.
you probably should.
Okay,
Just do it.
so, yeah,
So,
so I'd say
for it.
public, we close public comment, then it's any new business.
okay.
New business for us, sir?
Good evening. Yeah, let's have some.
The first item I wanted to raise is that a couple of days ago, Daisy Lee requested permission to conduct a cleanup at Streeble Pond, litter and so forth, and she wants to involve the police department and fire department. I thought I should get board approval before we said yes for sure. The packet has the email from Councilman Lee, Councilwoman Lee, and the teacher.
I'd like to make a motion based on Earth Day and the council person going forward with this to approve this.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Second thing I'm hoping
That was easy.
Yeah.
for approval for is, On February 28th, the board approved a limited professional services agreement with Weaver Consultants for $11,000 for the habitat monitoring at Carwick Nature Park. This is part of our permit compliance for the wetland restoration type work out there. I neglected to consider that at the time our contract with the contractor is silent on the topic of invasive species, and we've got some invasives that are creeping in out there. And Weaver has proposed to apply herbicide to knock out the invasives for $4,430 additional dollars. That I'd like your approval for this revised PSA that's increased by $4,430 for the herbicide application.
Steve, is this a 5-year monitoring term?
Yeah,
for
this is right.
What year are we in now?
This is year 5.
5, so this is last year. So after that, we can let the invasives do whatever it is they're gonna do out there naturally.
Not, but
Or is this something we'll look at trying to do every year?
Well, we want to give it the best start possible, Commissioner.
Okay, so we're probably gonna have this, at least this item for invasive controls every year for some time to come.
Probably.
Okay.
So, and the base of the contract, so this is 4,000 on top of,
11,000.
okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
I move we accept the proposal.
And I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
The third item I have in here is a professional service agreement for Haas and Associates to do detailed design work on the Michigan Boulevard and Carroll Avenue Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. This is something we started early last year, and it was tabled in December, or possibly a November meeting last year. There's an island of commercial and residential properties at this intersection that has been unsewered throughout history. We've got some homes and businesses that are on septic systems. The veterinary clinic has been operating its own private lift station in Force Main.
Yeah, that was Rex
I think we
Bailey
had
that came in our last
Yeah,
meeting.
Dr.
Yeah.
Bailey was here at our last meeting, and
How many properties are affected or not currently connected that can be?
it's 12 to 15.
That's- All right.
Did we study this last year when we, with someone?
With Haas.
And where's that study?
Oh, it was complete through that contract, which was to evaluate how we ought to go about doing it. This would be the final design
Work on
and bidding
design.
process for the contracting and the purchasing process.
And the expected capital spend for the project is about,
I don't recall that an engineer's estimate has been completed yet, but based on my
It's gotta be
experience,
part
That'll
of
be
this.
done when they, yeah.
my experience
Okay.
with similar projects, it's going to be middle 6 figures.
I just want to get a rough feel for it, thank you. Especially when I'm comparing the engineering costs relative to the construction.
Right,
So,
right.
Certainly.
I move we accept this proposal too, so.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, the last item. Some of you may be aware of this. The Sanitary District has participated in the Trail Creek Watershed Partnerships probably for the last 10 or 12 years. We do things like Trail Creek Week. And here, the point behind this would be a notice of intent to apply for a grant for this is a section 319 grant to revise the 2007 Trail Creek Watershed Management Plan. This notice of intent was drafted primarily by the Shannon at the Parks Department. She did the heavy lifting on these 2 pages. What I'm asking for is approval to move forward with this submittal of this notice of intent, to let the agencies know that we intend to apply for the grant. This grant has a 40% match, but it's typically done in kind as opposed to direct dollars outlaid.
Just for the board's information, the 319 references a section of the Code of Federal Regulations regarding Clean Water Act. 319 grants are for what they call non-point source pollution, stormwater runoff, as opposed to a 219 grant, which would be for a point source discharge control pollutants. So that's why he's talking about 319, because the watershed plan, of course, is mostly about runoff as opposed to a point source discharge, which would be our
Right.
sanitary.
So related to that, if they found some issue from an old 30-year-old, 100-year-old plant, then you may have to go after some other funding, right? Or
Correct.
some other approach. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
depending on what it is.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you, Attorney Meyer, for that illuminating me
Clarification.
after I struggled.
That's okay.
Very clear.
Now, I'm in the motion
I was gonna say,
business
you're
tonight, I
doing
guess.
good,
We
yeah.
accept this too, so.
I will second the motion. I'm in the second business.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. That concludes
Did you
my.
have anything about awarding the wall,
Uh,
lab wall?
I was unable to get it done.
Oh.
Okay, I can lead a structural engineer to water, but I can't make him drink real fast sometimes.
One additional point I'd like to bring up under new business is the extension of Risky Ave sewer in Potawatomi Park to the Michigan City residents. I think we need to start looking at a phase 1 design process for that and possibly include the whole town of Potawatomi Park as how we provide service to them as at least part of the study and see what kind of numbers we get.
John Doyle did a similar study. I can't say it was exact because it's been years
I
and
thought
years ago.
he had, even
And
before
so
we
there
started
should
looking
be
at
somewhere in the district
corporation.
records
I have that. He did a layout, and
of both types.
Yeah.
I mean, for both projects.
and actually Delta Institute had involved or tried to involve themselves in some way to try to find funding for it. Is my
If you
understanding.
could provide that report to the board at the next meeting so we can take a look at it. I've had 2 calls from residents on the Michigan City side of Risky who say their septic systems are failing. And they're having them pumped out now. So if they're citizens of Michigan City, those 12 homes, we need to provide them service as best we can. And I think we should try to see if Potawatomi Park's interested in also getting rid of their failing septics at this age of those homes in that neighborhood.
Conditionally.
Conditionally, right, not as automatic, but yeah, but just to come up with their cost and that too.
Yeah, the
We need
last
a-
time this push was made with Potawatomi Park, you actually had board resolutions and whatnot, but the residents, a majority of the residents did not want to pay the assessment
Yeah,
and thought that the sanitary district, Michigan City people should pay for their sources.
and I think they'll find as they start having to pump out their failing systems, they will be more inclined.
We have some
Yes. I
very
agree.
good evidence of that.
Yeah. All right,
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
yeah, thanks, Steve. Any other new bit, I just, I
No, go
left
ahead.
that to you, sorry.
No, that's okay. We share, kinda. Any other new business?
I do have one last housekeeping, basically, so I would like, right now it stipulates in the general manager's contract that a level 4 license has to be held by the general manager. I'd like to remove that language and held within the plant. So let's take it from the general manager's position to the licenses within the plant.
The superintendent has to have a 4, the superintendent of the plant. The person who's what they call operator in charge, which is your superintendent here.
That's a legal requirement with IDEM
Yes, it is
or the
a
EPA.
requirement for the size of your plant that you have to have the person in charge. And Mike obviously has a 4. Has to have a 4.
It just uses the word general manager in there. That's why I was trying
Yeah.
to take it away from the general manager
Right.
position.
And you want to put it under the superintendent.
Correct, of the plant itself. So if we just say it remains within the plant, it can be held by anybody within the plant.
No, it has to be the operator in charge.
The boss of the
Right,
plant.
the
Yeah.
boss of the superintendent.
Basically.
Okay,
And your system has to be, even the mayor's new proposed diagram, not diagram, or chart, the superintendent is the one who's going to be the operator in charge, which is Mike. At
Right.
this point, there's, just practically speaking, it would be good if you had 2. So if Mike can't do it for some reason, you got somebody else who can.
Or an
Step in.
assistant or some.
Actually, we do.
I know
Yeah.
you've got 4.
I mean, this is Stanford particular.
And is it,
Right.
is it worth clarifying that the operator in responsible charge is literally in charge of the entire POTW, including the collection system?
It should be. I mean, in the past, you had a 4 who was the general manager, so by definition, they had control over everything. If you're gonna take it out, I guess what Steve is saying is you would modify your definition of the superintendent to include responsibility for overseeing what they call a POTW, which is a public owned treatment works, which includes the sewer system. Because the class 4 has to
separate.
manage and monitor what's coming into the plant as
As well as
much as what's
operations.
going out, operating and what's going out.
So amend,
I
I would amend it to,
Right,
yes, to the operations manager of the plant.
right.
Correct, the level 4 license, correct.
So,
I will second that.
We have a motion and a
You
second.
lost me on the
Oh,
discussion. You were asking for a change in the chart or a change in?
No.
Change it in the,
job
Job
description.
description.
of the
Okay,
job
thank you.
description,
I got it,
correct.
thank you.
May I interject something?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mayor has asked me to rewrite the job description for that particular position, so I'll take that into account once I do it, so the board may not even need to vote on it.
Okay, we'll
until
just
I
look
can
at
something
your,
new to it, to
Okay.
okay,
I'd rather be
yeah, we'll act on
reading
that.
something
Yeah,
than
yeah.
just arbitrarily,
Thank you.
so, good.
Okay, I remove my second. Do you remove your motion?
Motion?
I remove my
Okay.
motion.
Okay, motion dies. Okay,
All right.
let's,
We got to sent this, are we supposed to do something with this?
the policy,
No, I just wanted you to look at it and at the 22nd meeting.
meeting, okay.
In the meantime, if you have any questions or anything.
I saw a little typo and so I'll bring it down or whatever.
Well, bring it up beforehand, just
Yeah.
email me,
Yeah,
So
okay,
you
and
can,
then I'll make the changes.
Gotcha. it's minor, it's minor.
Right. If you knew my lack of typing skills, you would not be surprised.
It's all right. And then the second point, I'm assuming we will routinely have an agenda at the meeting
Yes,
in advance.
yes.
One thing you may want to address, not necessarily this minute, is who's responsible for preparing the agenda. And typically, in theory, the board president, monitors what goes on or doesn't go on the agenda. But it's not practical for the board president to actually,
get the,
prepare the agenda.
And I've kind of had conversations with Rachel about that now, because Rachel's the new secretary of the board,
Right.
technically. So my goal is to run it a little bit more of administratively like the clerk runs it, where there'll be a cutoff date for proposals. That cutoff date has to be in her office by that time. She will then make the agenda, she will have it all distributed to everybody, but then she will also have a packet to everybody delivered. So that you have it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
at least a week in advance, we
I was
can
just gonna
look at
say, I'd
something
like
like
to
this.
see it a week in advance.
See.
Going back to our council's suggestion is, just because you submit a proposal, does it automatically get on the
The
agenda?
agenda.
true.
Or is that managed by the president of the board?
That would be the president of the
President.
board who decides what
Yeah.
items will go on, and then we'll discuss whether
And-
we
yeah,
want to move on them or
exactly.
not.
I get it.
Typically,
yes.
typically Chris would be
Well-
the source of information to Rachel, and I assume you're clear with the president first, and then, just make a rule that nobody other than Chris or the president can put things on the board, or agenda, or take them off.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to, so at
Right.
least you have some management of the
Control.
system,
Maybe
and
that's,
that if issues come up, somebody addresses it, so.
Right.
Thanks.
And then,
Yeah, please do.
yes, and then Steve will have the operations portion of it,
Gotcha.
but he would
Okay,
bring it
good.
to us, the
Okay.
same situation,
gotcha.
so the operations and then administrative, absolutely. But at least it gives you an opportunity to
Yes.
review it
Yes.
Right,
days in advance and not just hours in advance
Right.
or the day of advance.
thank you.
And Don, that's a good point. When I was on the board before, they would deliver to your residence so that you had everything,
Yeah,
you know, so I think that'll make it much easier.
yeah, whatever the
Definitely.
process is, I'm, as long as there's a process.
Yes,
I'm equal
there
to
is,
it, so.
there is, so.
One of the first things I'll work on, I promise.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Chris. If not, we'll call for you. Okay, no other business?
I would like to resign from the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
You just submit something in writing.
yeah,
I have that for Tatanation, but I just wanted to say that to the board.
All right, thank you, Chris.
we're not gonna accept it.
No.
I can do a dual role.
Indentured servitude is, indentured servitude is legal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris, for serving on the board.
Thank you very
Been a
much.
pleasure.
And in the same verse, and thank you, Jim, for your
Yes.
service. We appreciate
Yes.
you. I appreciate you for all you've done.
Thank you.
And continue to do for us as needed. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, motion to adjourn,
So done.
second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
I'm staying.
Thank you.
I'm not on the board.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.